Hello! Hello, everybody, and welcome to our bi-weekly now, again, it wasn't for a little bit, but now it's bi-weekly again, Devstream. How's everybody doing today? My name is Matt. I'm here with Max. I was going to call you KFC. It's just like an old habit, like old habits die hard. I'm here with Max. To my diagonal left is HB, and to my left is Mark, as you guys know. We are here to talk about the summer update. I don't really have much else to say because you guys got really excited. If you didn't know, if you haven't been paying attention to some of the announcements and stuff, we also revealed the new map that's going to be coming in the summer update last week on the blog. You can get to that by going to foxholegame.com, and you can just click the blog. It's like one of the first posts. So without, I really don't want to like belabor the point here. So let's just. I'm going to hand it off to Mark.
Yeah, there is one. Yeah, okay, great. Because I just wanted to say that I was saying this at the end of the last stream where everybody was talking about what's going to be happening on the second stream and all this stuff. And I was trying to drive this point across, but I'll make it again. I know everyone is like looking forward to everything we have to talk about in terms of Logi. And I want to like sort of set the stage and let everyone know that like logistics, the changes that we're making is going to be more of an evolutionary type of features on top of what's already there, right? So we're not changing the whole like logic game. We're not changing the economy that much. Probably the diesel tanks is the biggest economy change that you'll see in this update. We're sort of taking what's there and we're going to be trying to like, expand on those features and really trying to improve the quality of life for what's already there, as opposed to like sort of a huge kind of like paradigm shift. I sort of want to make sure that that was made clear because I know everyone can kind of your imagination can run wild, and I want to make sure that we're on the same page there. But having said that, I think there's a lot of cool stuff still. Just kind of want to get that off my chest in case people didn't see me screaming last time after the stream on FOD. So yeah. Besides that, work on the update is going well. We actually pushed our schedule slightly back from what we originally planned, but not by a lot, just by about a week, because we want to give this update a little bit more time in the dev branch, because as we get closer to 1.0, we do want to make our releases more and more on the polished side of things. We want to make sure that there's more time to make sure that things are properly fleshed out, more shakedown time, more feedback from the community. And as you see, like as we get to 1.0, as I said last time, which is about 6 to 12 months away, we do want to start sort of making sure that things are more tight before they go out the door. So that's all I got to say. But other than that, I feel like development is going really well, and we'll have a lot to say about this release in the coming weeks. And the dev branch isn't too far off, which we'll also talk about later.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Wait, there's one more thing. At the end of this stream, there's going to be a special announcement, so stick around for that.
You don't want to miss it. That's all I'm saying.
You don't. It's going to be good.
Before we get started, Max or HB, do you guys have any thoughts?
Do I ever?
No, let's get on with it.
Let's go.
So I guess we're going to start with community highlights.
Yeah, Mark, I'm gonna ask you to stream it because my computer sometimes chugs.
Yep.
If you don't mind.
No worries.
Yeah, I'm gonna start with community highlights. Community highlights, for the people that don't know, it's actually like blog. It's a post that KFC Max does at the end of the week. Usually when I have a dev stream, he puts everything that the community made in there. He puts like everything that you guys did, like all the illustrations and videos and musics and stories that you wrote. And you can see a lot of them, and we're just gonna make a little bit of a preview of what it is to come in the blog post. So without further ado, community highlights preview. Let's go. Next ones, Mark. Cool. These are like really amazing in my opinion. We have on the left the one by Sarcastic, and on the right the one by Pasta. We keep saying that the quality of the illustrations like keep going up and up, but this is like it's been more true than ever in the past like couple months. That one by Sarcastic on the left is something that I had not seen before. I think composition is so strong, posing, the kind of illustration, and the story that it tells is also really, really cool. I think that if it was it's very creepy. If it was like a different, I could totally see that as being one of the entries on one of our contests. Maybe not the last one, but it's like maybe showcasing the reality of war or something like that, in which like both sides are puppets and things like that. Like it just tells a nice story without being, too apparent of what it's doing. And it's just a cool illustration. Like it's just so well made. And I think Sarcastic like really, really nailed on this one. The other one that we have is the one by Pasta on the right, which is this one, on the other hand, is just a sweet ass illustration of a warden soldier. I don't think our character looks nearly as good looking as this guy, but it is something. That's really cool. Next one, Mark.
Oh, I actually think that I missed one, so I'm gonna go.
You missed one. Are you gonna go back? Okay, so I thought it was not working.
There seems to be an issue with that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a really, really cool one. That like I thought Mark was. This is by Centrosk, right? If I'm not mistaken. And it is an illustration, but I've seen before illustrations in which people put some small animated element. And I think on this, you see that a lot on Instagram, a lot on Twitter, and this one is, man, it gives me so much 1917 vibes, like the movie. It's so beautiful. The coloring, the lighting, like the little motes of flying up.
I had no idea that I saw just the still version of this morning. I had no idea that there was like an animated one, and this is just like.
Yeah, that's
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely fantastic in my opinion. It's mind blowing, like the quality, and not only on the I'm pretty sure it's like there's some sort of fat photo bashing happening as well, but it's just like such a solid drawing on the warden tank, on the warden soldier. Amazing composition. Really, really love it. Really creepy. So another one that could easily have won one of our contests.
Cool.
Yep, that one was made by Sandrotsk.
Sandrotsk. Okay, so I was right. Sarcastic and Mummy, once again, like people keep coming back. If we keep showcasing the same people, because their content is always top notch. It's always worth seeing some of the new stuff that they're doing. Mummy, once again, showcasing the breadth of different styles that they can make, that they can draw. Seems like a quicker sketch, quicker painting. Also well done. And Sarcastic, once again, really good composition. Like, they really have like a grasp on how to showcase moment to moment in Foxhole. And of course, the rendition is also really nice. Next one. This one. I'm just gonna let you guys. This one was really cool. Pinguy, I'm not sure, and Louis made this little comic book, and then like as soon as it was posted, Superior had to like add their little add-on, which I only think makes it so much better. So, congratulations on the original comic, which is amazing, and on Superior for having a really, really good sense of humor and on point skills, man.
Cool.
Yeah. This might be all for the community highlights. Can you go to? Yeah. So this was all for community highlights. Once again, if you haven't seen your stuff in the community highlights, send it to me. Send it to Max. Oh, actually, there was something. Oh, that I forgot to put in. Jesus, I am so sorry. Seed. Oh, I'll see if I can get a video for it and maybe add on at the end. And I actually told Seed that I was going to showcase his video. His video is really good. It's a YouTube video. I'll see if I can get the link to it very quick. Give me like 1 second. I'm like doing things on the fly here.
I posted it.
You posted it? Okay, so yeah, you guys check that video. It's a really, really nicely done video. It's 20 minutes long. I'm gonna. I'll see if I can share my. Yeah. So this video was made by Seed.
Oh,
and I don't know if there's I don't know if there's any audio. So this is basically Seed's.
You might as well just link this. This is like basically illegible.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna link it to it, but just so you guys know, this is basically Seed's. Oh my God, it's terrible. This is basically Seed's kind of like goodbye and thank you for the community and all the time that he played with and all the nice memories he made. Like it showcases literally all his like I think it's like something crazy like 1,700 hours.
I think you're cutting out.
It's really no, sorry.
Been cutting out.
So yeah, so I think it just showcases his like journey throughout Foxhole. It is totally worth watching. I'm gonna post it on chat again, and I'll definitely post it in the description of this video when it's on YouTube. Go watch it. It's a labor of love, and I think it's totally deserved. You know, how do I say a good send off to Seed. Like the guy has been like a part of the community. It totally. Yeah, there you go. But anyway, that was the community. Community highlights. There's so many cool things. There's going to be way more in the actual blog post. So you go check it out, see what is there, what is not, and if you have anything that you think it's really cool that you wanted to showcase, please send it to us. Sometimes I forget, as you guys seen, but you know, we try to rectify that. Without further ado, let's go to the development updates.
I just want to make one statement. Unfortunately, sometimes we're going to be at the mercy of Discord. If Discord doesn't want to give us the pixels, we aren't going to get the pixels.
No.
Unfortunately, that's a reality of being in COVID. If we were back at the office, this wouldn't be an issue at all. But unfortunately, that's something that we're going to have to deal with. So apologies. All these things will obviously be posted after the stream. Anyway, I just want to get that out of the way. All right, Mark. Take it away.
All right. Back to the goods. Just give me a second to get organized here. So let's talk about what else is coming to Arms Race. So last time we talked about the new vehicle system and all the great things associated with that, including the new physics, including the new roads and a ton of new stuff there. I'm excited for all the vehicles that's going to be coming. We also talked about the new technology system, which a big part of that is the modular vehicle system, which allows us to put tons of new vehicles into the game and have players be choosing which vehicles are going to be the ones that are used in each war. This time, we're going to talk about logistics and a bunch of sort of the miscellaneous bucket of these other things that we're going to be throwing in. So I'm just going to get to talking about logistics, but first of all, where a lot of what we're doing here is an extension of the work that started in spring when we added the, if you recall, the update where we added the squad storage, the update where we added the static cranes, and what we really wanted to do was to improve all the workflows that have to do with Logi, and to also give Logi players more options in managing their supply lines, more options in managing their storage depots, and just really give them more flexibility. Because prior to even that update that I was talking about, things were very rigid. You always had to go through all these really awkward flows. And what we're really trying to do is improve that overall experience and to give you more tools to be able to manage your uh, logistics lines more effectively. So one of the big parts of this is actually we finally sat down and took a long look um, at the water logistics game. And as you saw in our devlog last week, we actually changed much of the map to be more supportive of supply lines through water. And the next step of that is the seaport, which is going to be a brand new structure that's going to be located at most of the port towns. And basically, it works a lot like a storage depot with some extra features. First of all, it stores water vehicles, so all your ships, water vehicle crates. So your ships will be producible at mass production factories. And one nice feature is that there are 2 loading areas instead of 1 here. So we know that the coast can get, the harbors in the game can get somewhat crowded at times. So we want to make sure that players had enough space to be well organized here. So there are actually 2 cranes, 2 loading areas. So it's sort of like twice the amount of logistics works can be done here. And we're actually hoping that this will lend itself to um, things like naval landings, make those much easier than they are now. And one of our big concerns, though, with this structure is how vulnerable they can be. So there are garrison AI windows on the seaport structure itself, which makes it hard for um, things like water partisans. But really, the big thing here is going to be the coastal gun, which is going to be a new world structure that is going to be right there alongside all the seaports, and they will basically be there to like obliterate any ship that comes close to them. But we place them strategically to make sure that they're there to protect the seaports, but they're not going to undermine the amphibious landings too much in the world. So our goal here is to make sure that players are going to be able to rely on putting their stuff into the seaports and really not have to worry about it, right? I actually feel after these changes in some ways that the seaports will actually be in some ways even more secure than the normal storage depots. At least that's our goal. So the next thing is the reserve stockpiles. So what this is essentially an evolution of squad storage. And what we did was, as you know, when we added squad storage, it was an experimental feature, and we wanted to give players a better way to plan their operations, a better way to organize their storage depots, especially at the front. But we put it in using the tools that we had then. And once we saw how players were using them, once we saw the kind of problems they were running into, we took all that feedback and we sort of went back to the drawing board and said, okay, now that we know all this, what's the proper version of this? And the number one feedback that I got is that players didn't like the fact that it was coupled to squads, because they felt like it was hard to play with randoms. They always felt very insecure about other players in their squad, and not feeling like their storage was secure against them. So we came with a system that was completely separate from squads, because squads after thinking about it, it is definitely a communication tool. It's not really a logistics planning tool. So we want to separate those two things. So this new system, which is the reserve stockpiles, it's completely managed by the player. So uh, you can invite players um, through a code, and you can create multiple stockpiles. So it's really up to you to manage who sees what. So if you want to create like a super secure stockpile, you can just kind of make that for yourself. If you want to create a second tier where, okay, these you will trust with certain players, and then finally a third tier where you trust with like a larger group, you can do that. And you can also have the flexibility as well, to be able to transfer your items in between these stockpiles. But another goal that we had was to really help players in working together again, because with the squad stockpiles, things were always extremely binary. You were always either had everything secure in your own stockpile, or things were in the public stockpile. But with this system, we allow you to expose your stockpiles if you want. So it's completely up to you. So the other players are able to request items from you, or if they want to give you items, that's also like an option, right? So what we want to do here is to provide the maximum amount of flexibility, allow players to share their items in between their stockpiles, to let other people see their own stockpiles, and really like just provide as much flexibility as we can. And in terms of the limits, it's actually a lot better than before, because you're not limited to this, 50 items per player in your squad. You actually can store almost as much as you want. The only limitation is that for each item type in the reserve stockpile itself, you limit it to 800. But that's but in terms of the overall number of things you can store, it's much more than before. So we're really excited about how this is going to work out. Let me.
Yeah, I think somebody mentioned in chat, that this is the biggest takeaway from this is the success that it doesn't depend on squads. So finally, you guys can leave your squads and go to another squad, and you can still have access to your stockpile.
Absolutely, and that was like I said, that was like the number one feedback that I heard from so many players. So I'm really happy that we're finally coming back around to address it. Moving on. So this year is just a bunch of, um, you know, again, a lot of the feedback that we heard about this slide is about all the little things, right? Allowing your barges to be able to hold shipping containers. Allowing bridges can be open with your ship from your ship. And this goes back into us wanting to make your water logi routes a viable thing in the game. Mass production factories can also produce water vehicles, shippable structures, something that we'll talk about later as well there. And your storage depots now can also hold shipping containers, and really, yeah, like shipping containers. So much what we're doing right now is taking all the missing pieces and finally filling them in, and hopefully logistics game will feel a lot more complete as a result. So the next part, I'm really excited about this one here. So mining, right?
40 to 1?
Sorry, what?
Nothing.
Kidding. Go ahead.
Don't even, yeah.
Oh. Ha ha. I get what you were saying. Mining. So one of the biggest things that we want to do in this update, which strangely enough, this is actually tied to the vehicle physics in a way, because one of our goals at the end of this year for the summer update was, how do we improve the experiences that players in parts of the game where players are doing the same task over and over again, right? And the two big things that players are doing over and over again is they're driving and they're mining. And driving, we wanted to start to address that with the new vehicle physics. On the mining side, we also wanted to make sure that the moment-to-moment gameplay here was going to be more fun, right? So one of the things we did is we took a look at the tactile experience itself and want to make sure that there was more feedback when you were actually doing the mining activity, right? So we've done a pass on all the visual effects. You also receive a notification for the resources that you are receiving, which we'll show off later in a video. It's kind of hard to know what I'm talking about here. And another thing we want to is to break up the monotony, right? So rather than you just sitting there holding down the mouse button and sort of just like nothing ever changing, now actually each node is broken up into 3 stages, and each stage will actually provide more and more resources for you. So you're incentivized to finish off a node, and moreover, the final node that you hit will actually give you like a random amount of even more resources, so that you sort of feel like there's a bit of like a prize at the end of the tunnel. And like this is one of those features where it's really hard to show off in a slide or in a presentation. You really have to try it out. It's not completely game changing, but I think again, it's one of those things where we're taking what was already in the game that was not the most fun activity in the world, and we're trying to make it more fun. We're trying to make the experience more smooth. There's also the high yield nodes, right? So these are special nodes that once in a while, there's a chance that these will spawn in the field, and you'll see them because there'll be a little bit of a glimmer effect. You can kind of see it in the image over there. And when you see these nodes, hitting those nodes will give you much more resources than a normal node, right? So, again, this is another one of those things where as you're doing this extremely monotonous activity, we just want to add in these little surprises that will pop up in the experience, right? So, and another thing is that this will actually increase your overall throughput slightly, which I think everyone is going to be happy about. And finally, we have the secondary resources, the iron, the aluminum, and again, this is again making this whole experience more fun, because you're not just doing the same thing over and over again. There's going to be new resources that sometimes spawn as you're doing this activity, and they will be used for prototyping vehicles, right? But they're going to spawn as actual separate nodes, as opposed to just something that lands into your inventory. So it feels much more tactile than anything before it, such as your upgrade parts.
Like you are going to know when they're there. It's not going to be like hidden.
Yeah, exactly. And this will become clear once you see the video. Which, speaking of which, Matt, without further ado, fire off the logistics video. Yes.
Play the video?
Yeah.
All right. So, I know you can't see it, Mark, but I'll let you know when it's done.
Oh, look, it's not pixelated. It's great.
Yeah. One thing I will say about the scrapping is that seeing it all like laid out like that isn't at all what it's like when you actually get your hands on it. So I'm kind of excited for you guys to actually like get your hands on it, because it gets really addicting. So like surprisingly. So.
Yeah, so this here is, I'm actually wanting to, 1 second here.
So
yeah.
What excites me about this is that like finally we can start organizing like naval landings in a relatively secure location and avoiding and not having to worry so much about partisans rolling in and stealing all of your shit while you're in the middle of planning with the storage depot and the cranes.
You no longer have to tell people to watch over your stuff while you
somebody's sitting in it just waiting.
Yeah, and so one of the things that we really wanted to make sure with the seaports is that the entire chain was taken into account. So you're able to actually drive to a seaport, drop off your stuff, you stash it into the seaport. You can keep doing that until you have all your stuff ready, including your shipping container. And then finally, you pull things out. You pull out your shipping container, you pull out your freighter, you load the shipping container, you load it into your freighter, and then you go across the other side being able to pass through all the bridges, and then you're able to store everything securely on the other side. Grab your flatbed truck or truck on the other side, and then you can take everything that you have stored there, and then you can kind of like continue your journey from there. Or another thing is that you don't even have to continue. You can stop there. You can continue to build up your stockpile at that other end of Seaport, and then you can come back there, having it in your reserve storage. You can come back there at a later time as well, right? So all previously, when one or more of these pieces were missing, it would be a very frustrating experience trying to do waterlogy.
Yeah, I'd say one of my biggest frustrations trying to do like freighter was to get the when you had your freighter full of whatever materials. I was mining scrap, so I'd have like 6 resource containers full of scrap, arriving at the shipping port, and then not like I'd have to unload it, and then I'd have to go and get my flatbed that might be in the next town, and then bring the flatbed over, and then one by one emptying the freighter onto the flatbed, moving it over, and then at any point somebody could come and steal my freighter. With this, I'm hoping like this will make it easier for me to like actually load it into the storage depot like reasonably securely, and then I can sort of do it in stages.
Yeah, exactly.
So now we're at the storage depot.
Yeah, so this is the reserve storage, and as you can see here, I'm not sure if my voice will be synced, but there are multiple reserve stockpiles that you can see, and this includes stockpiles that are from other players, and you're able to use this to transfer your items in between the various stockpiles. And you can name your stockpiles as well. So when you create your stockpile, again, we wanted this to feel like you are literally managing your stockpiles, as opposed to before you kind of hit this button and it kind of just makes a stockpile for your squad. And it's very tightly coupled to your squads. You feel like you can't leave your squads at all. You can't do anything like that. So now you're able to just have these separate squads, and then you can manage them as you see fit. And we also, in terms of the transferring, we also added the slider that lets you choose exactly the amount that you want to transfer. And finally here, so if you want to expose your reserve stockpile for other players to see, they can see it, but they're not able to take anything from it. If they want to take something from it, they will have to put in their access code, and then they'll be able to gain access to it, and then now they can pull the items out.
Not streamer friendly. Help, I forgot my code. I have ammo in there.
No, you don't need to. So the thing is, it's more of like an invite code. So it's not something that you have to like memorize. Like once you're in, then you're a part of that stockpile. That makes sense.
It's like Discord, guys. So when you send your code to somebody, once you click it, basically it gives you access to the thing, and you can.
It's like an invite code. So if you see the resource, there is a notification at the bottom left corner now, and that shows you how many resources you are getting. And we want to stress that the throughput of resources hasn't changed. In fact, it's a little bit higher now because of the high yield nodes, but it is broken up, so you're not just, again, holding down your mouse button, getting the same amount of resources every time. You can also see the high yield nodes here as well, and they will give you a lot more resources, which is kind of nice. It's kind of nice being able to find a hidden gem within these piles of scrap. And finally, here's the secondary resources. So it's something that just happens naturally as you're scrapping. You don't have to do any extra work. It's not any extra grind. It's much like the upgrade parts, except it's more tactile. And it's not even required for really anything outside of if you wanna do research, then that's the resource that you use.
Oh, a
Matt,
little
do you
bit
wanna
of a
stop
leak
this?
there.
Yeah. All right.
That's okay. It's a little bit of hype. It's the second
Cool.
time, actually.
All right then. Let's get past this. All right, so moving on. So we have the emplacement trenches. So this is something that we had planned for a while, and we showed a little bit of an earlier version of this many months ago. And this is the emplacement trenches, and essentially these are trenches that have a special capability that you can put in special structures in them, right? So one of the things that we want to push into is this idea. It's a bit of a new concept of a player-driven defense. So we have the AI defensive structures, but we don't really have any defensive structures that are manned by players. So we're introducing these new in place structures where they can't be deployed anywhere in the world. You can deploy them on the ground, but if you deploy them inside these emplacements, then they will receive one of several buffs, or several buffs rather. Their tracking speed will be improved. Their damage mitigation will be improved, so they'll be harder to take out. And another thing with these trenches is that they can actually be used to make your trench designs more flexible. And we've actually seen some pretty crazy things already being done with them.
There's that
within
one
the
that
team.
looked like a spider web.
Yeah, exactly. And you can also just use them to build out like a large entrenched area. It's kind of neat. It's another tool. It's another tool in the toolbox for trenches. And the first of these defenses is going to be the AT. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. Emplaced AT gun, right? So this is basically an anti-tank gun, and it's sort of the manned version of the gun turret, but it's even better because it's going to have pretty good tank armor penetrating capabilities. And then the other part of this is the machine gun emplaced MG, and this is basically the structure version of the field machine gun. So these are the two structures that will go into the emplacements for now, but we're working on more, and there's going to be more coming here in the next couple of months. And finally, we have the field AT, which I think we talked about these before. I think don't
we
remember.
showed one of the renders once. And then didn't really talk about much what it was.
Yeah, so these are kind of the mobile versions of the emplaced AT, which you saw on the previous slide. And this belongs in the same family of vehicles as the field artillery, the FMG. And because they are shippables, you can, well, these are more like vehicles actually, but we think, again, a part of why we're introducing these weapons right now is because the tank game is going to see a lot of new features, and with the increased complexity of the tank game, we want to make sure that the counter tank game was also up to speed, right? So these are going to be new vehicles, and there's a couple more vehicles that we do want to show. So last time we talked about the vehicle variants, and we sort of talked about the first half of them. There are more to come, but we do just want to show like a few more on the stream. And next week, actually, we're hoping to show a lot more of them through the community. But we will let you guys know how that's going to work. But for now, there's a couple of more vehicles. These are some of the tank variants that we're going to be seeing in the game. Max, do you actually want to say a few words on these guys?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So remember last week we were showing you guys the some of the variants of the earlier variants. These we're starting to get into the tanks now, so you can start to see what's being shown here. What you're seeing may not necessarily be like what's going to go in at the very end, because there's still some balancing to go on. But we have well the Colonial Light Tank variant, which is for this one is going to be have a little bit more health, but it's going to go a little bit slower. But there's going to be one or two other like minor features that I'm not going to talk about yet. And then the right tank, which is the Warden Battle Tank, it's got a slightly heavier armor skirt, and you can see the front armor plating. And there's this one is quite obviously going to be a little bit more heavily armored than its original battle tank counterpart. But I need to stress this again, that the tank armor mechanics are coming into the game. So a lot of what you guys might be used to with regards to the battle tank, it might change. So just because we see extra armor plates here doesn't necessarily mean, well, oh, it's just going to be a tougher version of the original tank. Remember, these vehicles are changing in its entirety. And I saw some of you guys stressing some concern about, like, that there's too much AT now and that vehicles are useless. Just, I think you need to throw out all of your preconceptions about vehicles. Just throw them completely out the window, because when this new patch hits, the balancing is going to begin all over again. And I think these two vehicles really show how that's gonna look.
Cool. And so we
All right.
have.
Can I?
Was there something that you wanted to say about this one?
This one's for you, WN.
That's all we have to say. Yeah, actually, that is kind of all we have to say. This is actually going to be the only water-based, besides the landing craft, the only water-based vehicle variant that's coming in the summer update. And it's the artillery gunboat, which has 2 artillery turrets on it as opposed to 1. So it's more of a specialized version of the existing gunboat that we have. And I guess, do we want to move on to the second video now, Matt? I think we're
sure.
ready to roll on that.
All right. So this is good. Just going over the general workflow of how these emplacements work. Is that the idea?
Yeah. So essentially, you build the emplacements at the construction yard, and they're shipped just like any other shippable, like shipping containers, your concrete mixers, resource containers, and you bring them to your front. And we want to give players the flexibility of just placing them on the ground, or placing them inside a trench.
Here's a look at some of the concrete hexagonal trenches.
Yeah, so the emplacement
are they octagonal or hexagonal?
They're octagonal, but some of them look rounder, like the concrete ones.
I think that's why it threw me off.
Yeah. So one of the things that we actually want to do here, and I think some of this will become a little bit more clear in the updates actually coming past the summer update, is to push a bit further into the PvP side of frontline defenses, and not always necessarily. We actually want to, in time, transition away from just the meta of like spamming tons and tons of like gun nests, and we feel like this is a small step in that direction. Starting to lean more into the PvP aspect here, and there's other changes, like I mentioned, that is going to actually extend beyond the summer update that we feel is going to help in this regard. So that's it for the videos.
Yep.
All right, so now's the time that all the wardens have been waiting for, because last week we had shown the colonial, the big colonial vehicle, right? Are you guys excited, like Matt, and HB, about the finally working on the warden reveal?
Yeah, we've been working on this for a while, so like it took some animation work, took a lot of like design work into it, so it's actually pretty exciting. I think wardens are going to be pretty happy.
Yeah, I think Matt, you also spent a bunch of time on the lore on this.
Oh yeah,
one as well,
this was one of the more complex things that I've had to work on in a while.
Cool. Well, without further ado, this is going to be the Warden Storm Cycle. It's going to be the Warden special vehicle, and we really feel that pushing into the idea of the faction-specific vehicles, that this made sense in the context of the lore. And we think it'll be highly competitive with the Colonial Siege Tank, and we actually spent a lot of time in getting all the nuances of the animation right as well, as HB worked.
HB he actually bought a unicycle. If you guys didn't.
Yeah, it was fucking hard to actually learn how to ride one, but I thought it was like necessary to make sure that it was like faithful, you know.
All right.
Oh no! Why is this so pixely? This is
I don't know why it's so pixely.
This is like really bad. This is almost like as bad as the joke.
Okay. Well,
can you just like refresh your feed?
Change camera.
Yeah, I'm just gonna HB talk for a second about the unicycle.
All right.
Yeah, that was the storm cycle. Yeah, as you guys can see, that was totally a real thing. Somebody in the team, I don't think you remember who it was, made the model just for the gag, like for the lore page, and then I was like, hey, you have the model, just give it to me. And yesterday night after work, I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna rig it and animate it and put it in a game and see what happens. It was fun.
Yeah, we really wanted to capture what the Warden faction would feel like.
There you go. Now it looks good.
Now you get the proper.
There we go.
All right.
We have the Warden Assault Tank, right? So this is gonna be the big Warden tank, and it's in between the size of a light tank and the battle tank. Max, do you have a few words to say about the functionality of this one?
Yeah, not as cool as the unicycle, but you know.
Definitely not. So last week we showed you guys the mortar tank, and we talked a little bit about about how we wanted each of the factions to feel somewhat different. And this is the vehicle we picked to sort of showcase out of all the different vehicles that we'll be adding, as sort of like giving you guys a better or clearer picture as to what we want the Warden faction, how we want the Warden faction to feel. Matt will. Those of you who dig through the lore are probably not going to be all that surprised by this. The mortar tank is sort of like really represents the Colonials' like brute force frontal assault kind of methodology, whereas the battle or the assault tank here is more for it. Sort of shows the higher engineering, more meticulous planning that goes into the Warden engineering designs. So now, granted, I need to be very clear that this is not a mirror of the Warden tank or the Colonial mortar tank. It's not like both of these vehicles are designed to be assault weapons. They're completely different vehicles. And having just to see this one is like we just wanted to get the theming across. That's another view of it. So you can see the sort of the profile is a little bit longer. Julian and Leon spent a lot of time on this one, sort of like giving you guys a nice something that looks a little bit different that will very clearly be distinctive on the battlefield. So it's not like you're going to confuse this with anything else.
I think what's kind of cool about it is it's also one of the more like aggressive Warden armors, compared to some of the other tactics that we talked about. It's called the assault tank for a reason, so I do like that about it as well, especially after we just talked about how they're a very defensive faction.
Great. So now that all that's out of the way, so when is Arms Race coming? It's coming on August the 12th. And there's this really nice piece of art that Julian worked on. And it's, yeah, not much more to say. Coming August 12th.
I hope you guys are excited. We've been working very
Yeah.
hard on this update, as you guys can hopefully tell.
But there is actually more. There's actually more to this. So
That's true.
there's actually a couple of more changes. I think all the big like content features we've already talked about, but there is some more changes that are coming that are going to change. That's going to change up the meta slightly in the game, and some of it is based on the feedback that we've heard. Some of it's based on some of the goals that we've had for like a long time, in where we want to take the meta, and we're going to talk about some of those changes on the next stream. So this isn't it. I wouldn't look forward to any more content or flashy things, but there's some really important changes that we're going to be talking about on the next stream, on August the 4th. So, and there's actually a lot more. I actually feel like there's too much in this update, Matt, that I'm kind of like, more stuff to talk about. I'm tired. But the industrial environments, this is a big feature in itself. Matt, do you actually want to talk about this, since this is a little bit in your arena?
Yeah, I mean, I won't get too into it because I'll probably be writing this dev blog. But one of the things that we introduced the mass production facilities, and in some cases, especially in the major towns, we felt like it's kind of strange that these towns don't have these like big industrial districts, like factory districts, because they would, and so they will. That's kind of the gist of it.
Well, I guess we'll look forward to getting the details on that next week.
Yeah,
And,
I don't want to spoil too much because.
For sure. And we also want to do, we're going to be reaching out to members of the community to do a hands-on look at some of the vehicles next week. So look forward to that, because we actually haven't shown every single variant that is coming in the next update. So there's actually still more to see there. And finally, like I said, on the next stream, there's a couple of last bits of the update that we want to wrap up. And also, finally, a really cool blog around the time of the release that is going to be showcasing a lot of the concept art that we've done for this update. It's actually probably the most amount of concept art that we had to do for a single update. So I think it'll be really cool to be able to see all that in one place. And in terms of the dev branch, which everyone is screaming about in chat, see, I devoted a whole slide for you guys on this, right?
You knew.
It's like he knows you guys.
I know you guys, man. So we're actually going to do things a little bit differently this time. Dev branch is going to come in phases, and we do want to start it soon. So the idea is that we want to start it next Wednesday, and we want to do it in phases because there's so much content to test that if we just threw it all out there at once, you guys are going to be overwhelmed. We're going to be overwhelmed, and we won't be as efficient in fixing bugs. And quite frankly, some of the features are just going to need slightly more time. But we want to do this dev branch in phases. So the first phase is going to be coming next Wednesday.
Oh God, what just happened? Sorry guys, the stream just died here. Okay, I think we're good to go.
Cool. Are we back? Should I
I think you should start talking about double check the dev branch.
Yes. So the dev branch is going to come in phases, and it's going to span about a week and a half. And the first phase comes next Wednesday, and we will continue to update it with new features throughout that 1.5 week period. Which this is probably going to be about twice as long as our normal dev branch periods. But as I mentioned beginning of the stream, we do want to get our releases to be more and more polished as we get closer to 1.0. And there is something we actually do want to run a stress test on August the 5th. So this is going to be a little bit of a concentrated test where we do want to get more of your guys' help to sort of put the current build at that stage into a more realistic environment where there's more players, because there have been a lot of changes in the back end that has gone into this update, and we want to make sure that the final release is as stable as it can be. So now for that special announcement that we talked about at the beginning, are we ready for that, Matt?
Yeah, as soon as you're good to go.
Cool. I guess
you can turn your camera on, Mark, as well.
Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Some cool updates from the Foxhole team. You guys can hear me, right?
Yep.
Like the Foxhole guys? Okay, good. Hi everybody, I'm Alkas, also known as Nuba. As some of you will already guess, we have an update from the Red River team. For those that might not know what Red River is, I think you guys did you guys have a demo video you wanted to show for?
Yes, I can show that.
For the test that we ran. So a small team at Clapfoot has been working on our own custom game engine technology, mainly Stefan, myself, and Adam. And the goal for this new tech is to be able to support much denser, much larger battles in a single server. So think, 1,000 players, in a single battle, all these things going on. And we ran the test. We ran the initial first test last year. If you want to show that.
Yep.
Yeah, so we successfully got about 1,000 people on the same server, firing rifles, bayoneting. It was a lot of fun, and I want to thank everybody that participated in helping us with that test. It was super fun. But now we're ready for a new test. This is going to be a different test. The new goal with this test is to test is to test a persistent world, being able to simulate a persistent world over a couple of weeks. We want to see if our engine can run for a long time and support players logging in and out, progressing. So to that end, what we did is we moved away from the Musketeers theme from the Red River test, and we created a small town building, a medieval town building demo. And in this demo, we're hoping that players will be able to log in, chip away at building up a small medieval village over a few days, weeks, and see, there's going to be building, there's going to be resource gathering, there's going to be farming. So we want to see how that works out. So we are now at a stage where we can get this tested in the next few weeks. So we want to let people know and have, if you guys are interested in helping out, which is always appreciated, we're going to post links for how to sign up for the mailing list, and we're going to be reactivating the Red River Discord so we can talk about it. We can show you guys a little bit of what we have and what we aim to test with this new experiment. So unfortunately, this first initial test is going to start out as a closed invite-only test. We don't need 1,000 people at the same time because that's not what we're testing right now. So we're going to mail out like invitations over the course of the next few weeks, run a test, and then expand the list. Go get more players, and then run another test in the next few months, and kind of iterate on this and see where we end up. So thanks again for helping us test last time, and if you're interested in testing again, please sign up at foxholegame.com/r2engine, or you can go to discord.r2engine.com.
Oh wait, I actually have the URL here.
Oh,
Yeah,
there
I
we
put
go.
it on the
Yeah.
the
There was
presentation.
2 slides, so I think I got the wrong one. So
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Alkas. I
Yeah,
hope you
thanks,
guys
guys.
wish you guys the best of luck with that test.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Let's
Back.
let's bring it to the Q&A. I'm gonna bring my damn face back. Mark, bring your damn face back. And we're gonna answer some questions. Alkas,
yeah.
stick around for some questions because I think there's
Actually-
probably gonna be some.
You know what's great about
All right, I'll stick around. Yeah.
the Q&A section, Matt, is that I don't have to worry about like orchestrating these slides because it's actually very incredibly stressful to not accidentally show new stuff that we're not supposed to show too soon, or
Tell me about
Always.
it, or just
Like, it's just
accidentally
sort of
have your
this-
Discord disappear. And
exactly. But now it's like, okay, it's a Q&A section. Just sit back and answer questions. This is,
all right, guys, let's ask some questions.
The real stream begins now.
If you guys have any burning questions, now's the time to ask them. Let's just start with Toby with a bunch of Ys, or 2B with a bunch of Ys. Can motorboats open bridges?
No, because they can already go under them.
Great answer. How about gunboats? I saw that come up a lot.
Gunboats can.
Really good question from Kamikaze Polo. What happened to picking up soldiers? Picking up wounded soldiers.
Yeah, that's still on the side burner. We haven't abandoned that idea yet. I don't want to say, because I know I said a million times it's going to be coming. It's going to be coming. So I don't want to say it's going to be coming, again anytime soon. But it's not something like it's something that we still intend to do. It's still on the to-do list.
Apparently, the Discord link to the R2 engine does not work. So maybe if anybody at Clapfoot is listening to that.
I tested this morning, like the discord.r2engine.com should work. I tested this morning, like a couple hours ago, actually. So double check.
Does that not work?
So there's
Yeah.
there's a lot of
I
questions.
just posted one. That should hopefully work.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, the guy was banned.
will
apparently.
the gunboats be able to challenge the domination of coastal guns? If not, is there a check and balance for combating them? Well, first of all, I'll say the coastal guns are in fixed locations. You can't build them wherever you want. They're fixed structures. So that's part one. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Mark.
Sorry, what was the question again?
How will coastal guns be able to be combated if not by gunboats? Like, will gunboats be able to ever challenge coastal guns?
No, not in most cases that they won't be able to. But as I mentioned, we place these very strategically so that we don't want to stifle any of like the naval landings, and we also don't want to just create like the point of this is to make sure that the seaports are secure is not so much as a general purpose defensive structure against disease, right? So, Matt, if you recall, when we were placing these, we were extremely careful to make sure that we weren't stifling the beach landings.
Yeah, it's one of the structures we like laid out on a map ahead of time to make sure that we kind of knew where they were going because they're really powerful. So this was a question that I answered on FOD the other day, but Navi the Silent asks, will the roads be in a region, in a single region, will the roads be one tier or a diversity of tiers? So there's a diversity of tiers in every region. It's probably about like, 20, 30, 50 from tier 3 to tier 1 percent wise. So that it's pretty much consistent across. We try to make it as consistent as possible across all the maps. So every map has all 3 tiers. It's never going to be like one map is all tier 3 roads or something. So Death 151016 asks, how difficult is it going to be to get the faction specific vehicles like the siege tank and the assault tank? Max, maybe you want to speak to that.
Yeah, both factions. So, I mean, I can't speak to specifically how difficult it's going to be, but we're hoping that the pacing of the war will be very similar to what you guys are used to already. We're going to try our best not to change it too much. But that being said, the tech tree is directed by the players now, which we talked about last stream. You'll be able to skip certain levels of your research tree to reach them faster, or you could take the safer approach and reach it slower. But that'll be entirely up to the players. So though the two vehicles, like I said earlier, they're not the same. So like they're not going to be on the same level of the tech tree. One might be like earlier, one might be later. But we're hoping that we're obviously going to have to make some tweaks as we go along. So hopefully once you guys get your hands on the first step branch, you'll be able to see whereabouts it's going to, or like our first stabs at it, and then we'll make changes as necessary.
Torrento asks, what's happening to Great March Road? Great March Road is unchanged, except that it will be a tier 3 road. Orville Gaming asks, can the coastal gun target infantry?
Yes. No, I'm kidding. No, definitely not.
That seems like it would be a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
360 degrees just popping. No, I think you have to be in a watercraft, I believe. I think there's some confusion here, so I'm going to ask this question specifically to you, Alkas. The Windows user says, how's the engine change expected to impact performance?
The on the client side, we're still using Unreal Engine 4. So I don't think the performance difference is going to be different. First of all, let's clarify, this is not for Foxhole. I think last time we ran the test, we made sure to clarify that we're not going to be bringing this technology to Foxhole. So this is not changing Foxhole in any way. Foxhole is going to stay the same. This is a new engine that we're building from the ground up. And mainly the focus that the main technology that we are developing is the server-side technology that supports a much higher player count on a single server. On the client side, on the player side, we're still using Unreal Engine 4. So nothing changes really for like it's going to be similar specs required to whatever. If you can run Foxhole, you'll be able to run Anvil as well. But yeah, it's not it doesn't really change stuff on the client side too much.
What happened to emplacements? You must have missed it on the stream because we just talked about that. They will be coming. Will the new AT guns be towable with normal trucks? Asks Radical Decay.
Is there anything that it is towable right now?
No, there isn't any towable feature in the game right now, but they will be able to be put on a flatbed truck, just like the other fueled vehicles,
Yep.
like the fuel artillery and the FMG.
Blur asks, will vehicles be squad storable? I'm assuming because vehicles are storable, but already.
The same rules that apply to squad storage will apply to reserve storage. The only difference is that you can store more now. There isn't that 50 per player limit. You basically can store as much as you want, only adhering to the 100 per type limit.
Agrathor asks that we mentioned prototyping system is going to stay with the materials, different materials and things. What will they unlock from prototyping? Is it only relics like before? And maybe just clarify that. I think it'll make a lot of sense when you actually get your hands on it in the dev branch, but
Yeah, so we talked about this on the last stream, but essentially what we did was, if you recall the prototype system that we put in for the last update, the first war, we threw all that out. So it doesn't work anything like that system. The new system is far simpler. Essentially, as you're doing what you're already doing, which you're mining scrap, once in a while you'll get a node with these secondary resources, and those resources will allow you to build a prototype, which is essentially you casting your vote for your faction that you want to research one particular vehicle instead of another. But the bonus thing is, instead of just being like an upgrade part or previously the tech part, instead of just casting a vote and not getting anything in return, you cast your vote now, and then you get a prototype version of a vehicle, which is an actual physical prototype that is a lower spec version of the actual vehicle. So I just want to make this clear, because I know in the chat some people were talking about how there's going to be more work for Logi, but that's the way that this is going to play out is it's like the tech parts, except it's more tactile and you get something in return, right? So that's essentially how that flow is going to work. And again, our goal is to make it so that it is a player driven tree, but you get more than just it being a vote. You get something extra. So as a Logi player, you actually get something extra out of it without doing any more work. It's to be like super clear. It's not the prototype system we had in this last update where you have to go around the world finding research. All that stuff's gone. It's completely simplified now.
I'm gonna take 2 more questions because we've been streaming for a while. So want to get some good ones. So this is a good one because there was definitely confusion as it was being announced. The ex doctor asks, how much faster will scrap fields clear, and are they still 30k? Will sulfur and components work the same way? How much faster, etc. Basically, how much faster, and is aluminum the only rare resource?
So there is iron, which is for vehicles, and there's aluminum, which is for prototyping weapons. So you can look at those as like, one is for casting your vote for vehicles, one is for casting your vote for your weapons. And our goal in terms of the rate of consumption at the fields and how much there are at the field. So we're very careful there to make sure that nothing really there changes. Our goal, in fact, because of the introduction of the high yield nodes, you're going to get even more than before. So basically what we did was we implemented the new experience. We tuned it so that the economy was the same as the old version, and then we added in the high yield nodes on top of that. So it should, in practice, be more resources now than there was previously, and your throughput should be slightly more because of the high yield nodes.
It's basically just a bonus.
Sorry,
what was that?
So it's basically just a bonus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a bonus on top of what's there.
And then the last question is about vehicle physics. Looks like the name is Ratman something PL. Regarding the vehicle behavior changes, does the new system introduce actual physics to them as a whole, or is it mostly driving changes?
So the question was, is it change vehicles as a whole or just driving? What?
Yeah, like are there actual vehicle physics, or is it just like changing the driving experience?
I think I can try to answer this since Casey did explain it to me in depth, but with a big disclaimer that I'm not nearly as smart as Casey is with this stuff. But the vehicle physics are they're simulated. They're not like literally physics. It's not like you're gonna be able to well, you are going to be able to spin out, but the physics are simulated, so they're not like in a lot of other games that you might see in UE4 where you can like every object has a weight. It doesn't work that way, but there are some aspects of it that are derived from like other like racing games. So things like tire grip curves are implemented with like how well the vehicle tracks on the ground. But what the hope is that the illusion is that when you get into the vehicle, that it's going to feel like you're really driving a car that slips and has certain traction. But the reality is, because of the limitations of needing to communicate with the server, it's mostly it's not actually working that way. So, for example, one of the big questions that came up in the Discord is like, can you ram vehicles now? Using the momentum. So no, that doesn't work. What does work though is that like you can spin out when you turn a corner too hard, and your tire tracks lose, or if you lose traction, then your vehicle might just totally spin out and you'll lose control.
Also, now, like currently, when you like go off a cliff or something, the vehicle kind of just goes like and just is like flat.
Yeah.
It actually will sort of react appropriately, and you can kind of do like jumps and stuff. It's pretty cool. But you're not. I think
it simulates some things, not everything.
Yeah, it's like designed so that it doesn't like accidentally flip or something, though. So like that's and you're not gonna just be able to like do like Mad Max shit with each other and flip each other like willy nilly. I don't think that's gonna work quite that way. But it's definitely more. It's kind of more nuanced than just like is it physics or is it not. It's kind of like somewhere in between, just because of the way that the server works. But it's really neat and it's a lot of fun to drive around.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that you'll feel right off the bat is that when you turn, the center of the rotation is no longer at, like, for example, like a truck. It'll actually be where the wheels are as opposed to at the center of the truck, which actually felt, it's a little bit of a jarring change if you played Foxhole for a really long time, because your truck actually moves like a tank right now. But with the new physics, it actually turns at the correct place on the truck, and I think that's the most noticeable change that you will feel right off the bat, which will also take some time to get used to as well. So
My favorite thing is just like drifting around in the motorcycle. It's a lot of fun to drive. I think I'm really excited for you guys to get your hands on it. I think it'll be really fun. Okay, so that's gonna bring us to the end of our Devstream. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Alkas, for joining us. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Max. HB. Final thoughts.
Well, everybody, thank you very much for joining us. This is gonna be on YouTube soon, so if you have any questions, drop in the comment. We're gonna try to answer some of them in the comments below. Other than that, please join us on discord.gg/foxhole if you want to talk to us directly. These dev streams happen every second week at 2 p.m. EST on twitch.tv/foxholegame. And also check out the it's discord.r2engine.com, which is the new Discord for our R2 engine test that we're gonna do.
And HB will put that link like right here.
Yeah, I'll put the link. Everything is gonna be in the description. All the links are gonna be in the description. No worries.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for seeing our announcements. We're really excited for you guys to get this in your hands, and stay foxy.
And there's more to come.
Oh wait, you interrupted. Stay foxy.
Oh my god.
How dare? Okay, stay foxy.
That's the new.